Porsche has been producing sports cars since 1948, which means that this year they celebrate their 77th anniversary. So here we'll take a look back through their history from the 1940s until now. And you know what? This is gonna be epic. First up, we have the 1940s and the very beginning. 1948, we have the Porsche 356. So this was the very first production Porsche ever built. It was designed by Ferdinand Ferry Porsche, who previously had designed the Volkswagen Beetle. And you can see some similarities between the two cars in their overall shape. But the 356 was supposed to be a lighter and sportier car than the Beetle. It featured a small but lively 1.1-liter flat-4 engine, which produced only 75 horsepower. Despite being underpowered by today's standards, the 356 was praised for its nimble handling and lightweight construction. Only 50 of these were hand-built in Gmünd, Austria, before Porsche moved production to Stuttgart, Germany. And that's because right after World War II, Austria was occupied by Allied forces, and the situation was pretty unstable. So Ferry Porsche decided to move to West Germany to start over. The Porsche 356 laid the foundation for everything that Porsche would become known for in the future: simple, lightweight, and fun to drive. After this, we have the 1950s and the establishment of the Legend. Porsche continued to build on the success of the 356 with several evolutions throughout the decade. We have the 356A in 1956, the 356B in 1959, and finally the 356C in 1961. Each iteration featured more power, more refinement, and more racing success. In fact, Porsche began to dominate motorsport during this era. They won class victories at the 24 Hours of Le Mans 3 times in a row from 1953 to 1955. By the end of the 1950s, the Porsche 356 had proven itself as both a road car icon and a racing icon. And then it was time for something new. We have the 1960s and the birth of the 911. And in 1963, Porsche debuted their most iconic car of all time, the 911. At first it was called the 901, but Peugeot had trademarked the use of 0 in the middle numbers of cars, so it had to be renamed. So now we call it the 911. The 911 was a big step forward for Porsche. It featured a rear-mounted flat-6 engine which produced 130 horsepower. And that meant much more power and sophistication compared to the 356. It was still relatively simple and raw, but it was much more refined and usable as an everyday car. Porsche also developed the 912 in 1965. This was a cheaper variant of the 911 that featured a flat-4 engine instead of the flat-6. But despite being more affordable, it still offered great performance and handling. By the late 60s, the 911 had established Porsche as a maker of world-class sports cars. Then we have the 1970s, the turbocharging era. The 1970s was an exciting time for Porsche. They continued to refine and improve the 911 with several different models, but they also ventured into new territory with the introduction of turbocharging. We have the 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7. This was a lightweight track-focused version of the 911 that only 1580 were made, and it has since become one of the most legendary and sought-after 911 variants of all time. Then, in 1975, Porsche introduced the world's first production car with a turbocharger. It was called the 911 Turbo, or 930. The turbocharger allowed the 911 to produce massive amounts of power. And coupled with its iconic wide body styling and the famous whale tail spoiler, the 911 Turbo became a symbol of power and luxury. Porsche also launched front-engine models during this time like the 924 in 1976, and later the 928 in 1978. These cars offered different driving experiences compared to the rear-engine 911s, and they allowed Porsche to appeal to a broader range of customers. Then we have the 1980s and the decade of refinement and racing success. The 1980s saw Porsche continue to refine and improve the 911 with several different models like the 911 SC and the 911 Carrera 3.2. The 911 remained popular and relevant throughout the decade. But Porsche also ventured into new territory with the launch of their first supercar, the 959 in 1986. The 959 was a technological marvel for its time. It featured a twin-turbocharged flat-six engine with all-wheel drive, and it was the fastest production car in the world when it was launched. Porsche developed the 959 specifically for Group B rally racing, but unfortunately, the Group B was cancelled in 1986 due to safety concerns. Nevertheless, the 959 was a huge success as a road car, and it paved the way for future generations of high-performance Porsches. Also in the 1980s, Porsche launched the 964 Carrera in 1989, which was the third-generation 911. And it introduced advanced features such as anti-lock brakes, power steering, and all-wheel drive in the Carrera 4. After this, we have the 1990s and the decade of modernization and new models. The 1990s saw Porsche continue to modernize and evolve with new models and technologies. The 993 was the last air-cooled 911, and it remains popular among enthusiasts for its design and driving feel. Porsche also launched the Boxster in 1996. It was an affordable mid-engine roadster, and it saved Porsche financially during a difficult time. Then the 996 debuted in 1997. It was the first water-cooled 911, and it was controversial because it marked the end of an era for the 911. But it was necessary for meeting modern emission standards and performance goals. Then we have the 2000s and the glory days of supercars. The 2000s was a golden era for Porsche. They continued to produce some of the greatest supercars of all time, and they also expanded their lineup with new models. In 2002, Porsche launched the Cayenne, their first SUV. It was criticized by some as being out of character for Porsche, but it became a massive success and secured the company's financial future. In 2004, Porsche launched the Carrera GT, a carbon fiber supercar with a naturally aspirated V10 engine. The Carrera GT is now one of the most collectible cars in the world and is still regarded as a masterpiece of automotive engineering. In 2005, Porsche launched the Cayman, a hardtop mid-engine sports car that sat between the Boxster and 911 in terms of price and performance. The Cayman quickly became a favorite among enthusiasts for its sharp handling and balanced driving experience. Then we have the 2010s and the hybrid tech era. The 2010s was a significant decade for Porsche. They continued to push the boundaries of performance and efficiency with the introduction of hybrid technology. In 2013, Porsche unveiled the 918 Spyder, a hybrid hypercar with over 880 horsepower. It featured an advanced hybrid system, all-wheel drive and cutting-edge technology. The 918 competed against the McLaren P1 and the Ferrari LaFerrari, and it remains one of the greatest hybrid cars of all time. Porsche also launched the Macan in 2014, a compact SUV that broadened the brand's reach even further. In 2016, Porsche launched the 911R and the GT3, two special edition models that celebrated the brand's motorsports heritage. Both cars featured naturally aspirated engines and were highly sought after by enthusiasts. Then we have the 2020s and the next generation GT cars. The 2020s are still young, but Porsche has already made a big splash with new and exciting models. The latest 911 debuted in 2020, which is the 992 generation. It continues to be the brand's flagship model, and it features turbocharged engines, advanced driver aids, and hybrid tech is under development. Porsche also launched the Taycan Cross Turismo in 2022, an electric sport wagon variant that offers versatility and performance. In 2023, Porsche launched the 911 Dakar, a limited run-off-road capable 911 that pays homage to the brand's rally history. It's a unique and exciting addition to the 911 lineup. The 2024 Macan will be fully electric and marks an important step in the brand's transition to electrification. Finally, the 2025 911 GT3 RS is already highly anticipated. It will be the ultimate track-focused 911 with advanced aerodynamics, lightweight design, and a naturally aspirated engine. It promises to be one of the most hardcore road-legal Porsches ever made. So there you have it, a brief history of Porsche from the 1940s until now. What do you think about this brand? Do you have a favorite model or engine? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.